Yo, 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 what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get into it. All right. So shouts out to everybody that comes and watches the stream. Definitely appreciate it. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Shouts out to the replay viewers. Please make sure you guys leave comments after the stream. Also, if you're not subscribed to my backup channels, make sure you check out the backup channels. All right. Got a lot of information for you guys today. All right. So, mental health. All right. A lot of times when it comes to a lot of the crimes that take place in the United States, anytime there's a crazy issue like a mass shooting or just a heinous and horrendous crime, for whatever reason, the way that the world is today, people tend to want to blame it on mental health. So I saw an article about schizophrenia because when it comes to mental health, schizophrenia is one of the most delusional kind of just debilitating mental disorders that can really cause a lot of problems. All right. Shouts out to Vovo to Love. How you gonna come on during the BET Awards? I'm glad I did. You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to Carla. What up with it, Carla? So let's check out some info about schizophrenia. All right. And we're gonna see if any of the things that occur when people are involved in these heinous crimes like mass shootings and different things like that, we're going to see if any of those things are indicative of schizophrenia. Okay. So now this is an article from WebMD and it says a slideshow, a visual guide to schizophrenia. All right. So you can see there's brain changes. All right. You see the healthy brain doesn't have all of these purple areas. And then this one right here has a lot of purple areas. All right. So now it's asking this question: what is schizophrenia? It's a serious mental illness that can be disabling without care. About 1% of Americans have it. So again, schizophrenia is a very powerful, very disabling disease. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you already know, Carlton. C19 is absolutely creeping on a come up. And people ain't realizing it, but it is. It's creeping on a come up like BTNH. You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to Val. What up with it, Val? People with the condition may hear voices, see imaginary sights, or believe other people can control their thoughts. All right. And again, there should be a history of these people experiencing this. All right. Now, when it comes to this kind of situation, in most cases, the harmful elements of this disease are based on what people do to themselves. A lot of times when it comes to schizophrenia, there's what's called suicidal ideation. And when it comes to suicidal ideation, a lot of times people will hear voices in their head telling them to cause harm to themselves. Okay. Those voices tell them to cause harm to themselves or cause harm to others. All right. And again, there should be a long, ongoing, documented history of this. Okay. These sensations can frighten a person and lead to erratic behavior. Although there is no cure, treatment can usually manage the most serious symptoms. All right. So, again, these symptoms can be managed. Contrary to popular misunderstanding, schizophrenia is not the same as multiple personality disorder. So, just right here in this article, we've already talked about two kinds of mental disorders. We've talked about schizophrenia, and we've also talked about multiple personality disorder. So here's my question for everybody in here that's watching. When we pay attention to and when we watch these mass shootings and different things like that take place here in the United States, and we always hear this, well, the person had a mental disorder. Okay. My question is, what kind of mental disorder was it? If we're going to make that assertion, then we need to come with something behind that assertion, some facts, some evidence, some medical records. What are we doing? All right. So now here it says, what are the symptoms? Now, these are important. The symptoms are hallucination, which is hearing or seeing imaginary things, delusions, strongly held false beliefs, catatonia, a condition in which the person becomes physically fixed in a single position for a very long time. Some signs, such as a lack of enjoyment in everyday life and withdrawal from social activities, may mimic depression. Okay. So, again, these are different elements of mental disorder. All right. So now here it says how it affects thoughts. People with schizophrenia may have trouble organizing their thoughts or making logical connections. They may feel like their mind is jumping from one unrelated thought to another. Sometimes they have thought withdrawal, a feeling that thoughts are removed from their head, or thought blocking when someone's flow of thinking suddenly gets interrupted. All right. So again, this is a disease that um, a psychologist or a psychiatrist would diagnose. Just because somebody on the news or some politician says, well, this person obviously had a mental disorder, it's not obvious. It's something that requires assessment. It's something that only a psychologist or a psychiatrist can dictate. So my question is, out of all of this stuff that we've read so far, has any of this sounded like what the mainstream media tends to brush off as, well, this person had a mental disorder? To me, it doesn't. It's a little bit more involved. Now, here's some effects on behavior that schizophrenia has. The disease has a major impact in many ways. People may talk and not make sense, or they may make up words. They may be agitated or show no expression. They may have trouble keeping themselves or their homes clean. Some repeat behavior, such as pacing. Despite myths, the risk of violence against others is small. I want to make that clear. How many times have I said that? Violence to other people is not indicative of mental disorders. Violence to other people is a choice. So, as you guys see, this is an article, excuse me, from WebMD. And when we're talking about schizophrenia, despite myths, the risk of violence against others is small. So the question that we got to ask is, when these people continuously say, well, it was a mental disorder. It was a mental disorder. What mental disorder was it? Because one of the most debilitating mental disorders is schizophrenia. It has the most impulsive behaviors. It has the most delusional behaviors. You can get auditory delusions. You can get visual delusions. You can have voices talking to you. You can have all of this kind of craziness. You can be withdrawn. You can be dirty. You can have a disheveled appearance. But violence is usually not a symptom. If you're socially withdrawn and you're trying to get away from people, you mean to tell me that you're putting yourself near people to be violent towards them? My question for everybody is, what kind of sense does this make? And another question is, why are we allowing the media to continue to push this narrative? Why are we allowing politicians to continue to push this narrative? Oh, this person must have been, this person must have had a mental disorder. Again, we got to ask that question. What mental disorder? What mental disorder are we talking about? All right. So now they go on to say, who gets schizophrenia? Okay. Anybody can get schizophrenia. It's equally common among men and women and among ethnic groups. Equally common. You see this? Equally common among men and women and among ethnic groups. So anytime somebody who's not black commits a crime, it's not automatically schizophrenia. It's not automatically a mental disorder. Anytime somebody black commits a crime, it's equally likely that it could be a mental disorder. It's equally common among men, women, and ethnic groups. Again, this is coming from a site that is based on medical information. Symptoms usually start between ages 16 and 30. Early symptoms may present weeks, months, or even years before the first incident of full psychosis. It tends to be earlier in men than in women. Schizophrenia rarely starts during childhood or after age 45. All right. So You see this, schizophrenia rarely starts during childhood or after age 45. It rarely starts during childhood. So when we had these little crazy ass school shooters and they're 15, shout out to Ethan Crumley. Why are we calling this a mental disorder? My man Carlton Way says because the mental disorder claim can get someone out of taking accountability for their actions. Now, my thing is, when the charge of mental disorder takes place, why is it that the prosecution never brings in an expert witness of a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a social worker, a psych nurse, or somebody who understands the DSM-5 to verify whether there's an assessment that is indicative of mental disorder? Why is that never done in the court? That's the question. Also, ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask you guys, if you agree with Carlton, give me a thumbs up in the chat. If you disagree with Carlton, give me a thumbs down. Okay. People with schizophrenia or other psychotic disorders in their family are most likely to get it, maybe more likely to get it, because it's a genetic thing. You guys can see right here where the brains take place, where the issues in the brains take place. Look at the left and right lobe here. You see there's not these big holes there in the healthy twin, and then in the twin with schizophrenia, there's holes. The spaces between some of these parts are a lot larger. You know what I'm saying? You see this weird formation at the bottom here of this. I think this is the hippocampus down there. You know what I'm saying? So there are some physical issues that can be observed when it comes to schizophrenia. You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to my man Jay Bird. What up with it, bro? All right. So now they're asking the question, what causes it? Now, I'm going to ask you guys this question. What causes schizophrenia? Scientists don't know what the cause is. A person's genes, experiences, and settings may all be involved. Theories include how active and how well certain areas of the brain work, as well as problems with brain chemicals, such as dopamine and glutamate. All right. There may be structural differences too, like a loss of nerve cells that can result in larger fluid-filled cavities or ventricles in the brain. All right. And that's what these CT scans up here are showing, ventricles. These large spatial areas where there's large holes, those are ventricles. Okay. Carlton says drugs. Yeah, absolutely. Drugs can contribute. You know what I'm saying? Drugs can definitely contribute because they can not only affect your brain in a harmful way by affecting the shape, the size, the integrity, the appearance, the function of the nerve cells, but what it can also do is it can throw off the chemical balance as well. It can cause you to depress your respirations where you don't breathe as much. You can get hypoxia and have necrotic areas in your brain. You know what I'm saying? All different things that can possibly happen. Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we got 10 people watching. Shouts out to all 10 people who are watching. If everybody smashes that like button, we'll have 18 likes. That's what's up. So now, this is how doctors diagnose it. This is how doctors diagnose it. Okay. Notice it said how doctors diagnose it. The reason why I said how doctors diagnose it is because a news anchor cannot diagnose it. The governor of Texas cannot diagnose it. Your average everyday person cannot diagnose it. A doctor has to. A doctor, usually a psychiatrist. All right. There are no lab tests to find schizophrenia. Okay. So doctors usually base diagnosis on a person's history and symptoms. And so remember, anytime I tell you guys, well, what's this person's history? As soon as they start throwing around mental illness, oh, this person had a mental illness, that's why they did this. Okay, well, what's the history? Because if you have a mental illness, that means that you have to have an established pattern, and there's that word, there's that phrase again, of ongoing activity that is indicative of symptoms manifestation and behavior that is consistent with the DSM-5 definition or version of a group of behaviors that is indicative of a mental disorder. Period. Point blank. No other discussion. It doesn't matter how big Bill Mayer's nose is, and it doesn't matter how high Tucker Carlson's voice goes. That's how it is. That's the rules. That's the reality. They will first rule out other medical causes. All right. In teens, a combination of family history and certain behaviors can predict the start of schizophrenia. You see that in teens. Okay. So again, we have to check out family behaviors. Now, Carlton brought up a good point talking about drugs, right? We all know that when it comes to Salvador Ramos, his mother and his father were drug addicts, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure both of them were drug addicts. So as a result, they may not have started out with mental disorders, but they could have possibly developed them. But the thing that you got to pay attention to is that environment can also be a cause still. All right. So that environment of him being with those mentally disturbed parents can be a cause. And then also, if his parents are prone to addiction, that can cause issues too. That can be indicative of a mental disorder as well. Okay. The period when symptoms first start to arise and before the first episode of psychosis is called the prodromal period. It can last days, weeks, or even years. Sometimes it can be difficult to recognize because there's usually no specific trigger. So if somebody decides to just start acting crazy, they don't really make a decision to act crazy. But if somebody just starts acting up, a lot of times there's no trigger. The only trigger is that they have this mental disorder. Okay. And that could be true, Carlton. Maybe it was his mom on drugs during her pregnancy with him. Yeah, that definitely could be a possibility. You know what I'm saying? Prodrome is accompanied by what can be perceived as subtle behavioral changes, especially in teens. These behaviors include withdrawing from social groups, expressing unusual suspicions, but that's not enough for a diagnosis. All right. So then it goes on to talk about medications that treat it. And, I've always asked the question, if we're going to say that this person has a mental disorder, let's take a look at the medical record and let's see what kind of medications are being used to treat it. Again, because if somebody has a mental disorder, what there should be is a long legacy, a history of behavior as well as treatment, which should be very easy to show. All right. Prescription drugs can reduce symptoms of abnormal thinking, hallucinations, and delusions. Some people have troubling side effects, including tremors and gaining weight. Drugs may also interfere with other medications or supplements, but in most cases, medication is a must to treat schizophrenia. All right. So then you can also get therapy, the role of therapy. Counseling can help people develop better ways to recognize and handle their problem behaviors and thoughts and improve how they relate to others. Now, I'm going to tell you something about people with mental disorders. Most people with mental disorders do not want to have them. Most people with mental disorders spend a lot of time trying to stay consistent with reality. They do that by going to a doctor. They do that by getting on a medicine regimen. And most times people with a self-admitted mental disorder manage their mental health better than people who have not been diagnosed with a mental disorder. So when people say it's people that are mentally disabled that commit these crimes, or people have a mental disorder because they committed some kind of crime, not only are they being disingenuous, they're also putting a very negative stigma on people who do have mental disorders that are actually hanging on to sanity by a thread. And I don't think that's cool. I don't think that's fair. The earlier treatment is sought, the better the outcome. In cognitive behavioral therapy, people learn to test the reality of their thoughts and better manage symptoms. You see this right here? Other forms of therapy aim to improve self-care, communication, and relationship skills. All right. So then it goes on to talk about navigating the world, and there's all of these other things, right? There's a plan that you keep to try to maintain consistency with reality. You know what I mean? People have challenges. Of course, they have challenges. It's kind of hard to, work and socialize with people if you're not consistent with reality. So there's a lot of other things, right? And we don't necessarily need to go into all of those things. What I wanted to go into was basically the symptoms, and also to show that a mental disorder is not indicative of violence. It's not indicative of violence. It's not an indication that somebody is more or less prone to violence than anybody else. That is a mainstream media narrative, bullshit narrative to cover up for these little psychopaths going around shooting everybody the hell up. That's what it is. It's a flat out lie, as you guys can see. And we'll be talking more. We'll be talking more about mental disorders, especially since we're going to be talking about more diseases and more, healthcare related things on this channel. We'll be talking about more mental disorders. And we're going to test every single time the mainstream media tries to apply a mental disorder diagnosis to somebody and see if that definition actually stands up, because it doesn't. Now, again, we already started at one of the most debilitating mental disorders, which is schizophrenia. So I'm curious to see how these other definitions, these other claims of mental disorder are going to hold up. All right. So shouts out. We got 10 people that are watching. That's awesome. If everybody smashes that like button, we'll be at 20 likes. So help your boy out. Let's get to those 20 likes. All right. This right here is an article from Interesting Engineer. All right. And it says molecules in mucus, yum, yum, may be the key to thwarting fungal infections. Now, fungal infections, that just sounds disgusting. You know what I'm saying? That just sounds nasty, right? But people can get fungal infections very easy, and they can get fungal infections all over. When babies have the white areas in their mouth, a lot of times, that's a fungal infection called thrush. Okay. So let's see what this is talking about. Molecules in mucus may be the key to thwarting fungal infection. In my opinion, that would be common sense, because a lot of times when there's a infection, part of the inflammation is mucus. Now, the reason why the body makes certain secretions, the reason why the body makes certain chemicals is because sometimes those chemicals have properties, they have enzymes in them that can be either protective, or they can be chemicals, enzymes, or other cells that attack whatever pathogen it is that's causing the infection or the inflammation. So if you notice, a lot of times people will have a wound, or somebody will have an infection, an open skin area, and mucus will start generating in that area. In the healthcare field, it's called purulent drainage. All right, purulence is basically very similar to mucus. All right, there's chemicals like hydrogen peroxide in there to kill any kind of bacteria or virus that may be contributing to the infection. Okay. It's an immune system response. So now here it says thinking of mucus may disgust you. However, MIT researchers have now identified components of the substance that can interact with a particular yeast and prevent it from causing infection, according to a press release by the institution published this month. All right. Glycans to the rescue. So this is called glycans. All right. These components are called glycans. They are a major part of mucins, the gel-forming polymers that make up mucus. Research now revealing that these glycans can be specialized to help fight many pathogens, such as Candida albicans, which that's the one that causes thrush, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and Staphylococcus aureus. And Staphylococcus aureus is what's called a staph infection. A lot of times people get staph infections. Those can be very harmful. Yeah, that's a fact, Carlton. A lot of people get sinus infections, and then here comes the thick yellow mucus. It's nasty. You know what I'm saying? The picture that is emerging is that mucus displays an extensive small molecule library with lots of virulence inhibitors against all sorts of problematic pathogens. Now, what does this sound like? What is a virulence inhibitor? You guys should be able to figure that out just by the way that the word sounds. What is a virulence inhibitor? Against all sorts of problematic pathogens ready to be discovered and leveraged, said in the statement Katharina Ribik, the Andrew and Erna Vitribi professor at MIT who led the research group. Now researchers hope that these mucins could help researchers design new antifungal medications or make disease-causing fungus more susceptible to existing drugs, as some types of pathogenic funguses have developed resistance to them. However, spotting these glycans has been no easy task. Now, just imagine when the C19 starts developing resistance to some things. What do you think what's that gonna look like? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's a fact. Staph infections are no joke. Please wear sandals in public showers. Yeah, please do. Please do. Individual glycans are nearly impossible to isolate from mucus samples with current technologies, said Rachel Heavey, a research associate at the University of Basel. The only way to study the characteristics of individual glycans is to synthesize them, which involves extremely complicated and lengthy chemical procedures. Currently, only a small number of research groups worldwide are developing methods to synthesize these complex molecules. Now that's interesting, guys. There goes some opportunities. You see that? White blood cells can be mixed in with mucus, but white blood cells don't make up the entirety of mucus itself. There's other things in it. See this? It says currently only a small number of research groups worldwide are developing methods to synthesize these complex molecules. Business time. So if only a small group of people is doing that, if these treatments that are developed as a result of this research become very widely used, the people who start out in this industry can control it. You know what I'm saying? But the new study, you see this? The new study could inspire more research. The next step, of course, would be to find a way to deliver glycans to the human body. Now, in my opinion, the best way to make the glycans be delivered to the human body is to spray them into your nose through aerosol and get them to absorb into existing mucus, and that mucus spread to other locations where it naturally would. Why not? Right? That would be my guess. That would be my guess at the best delivery method. But research is required, peer reviews and studies, a think tank. You know what I'm saying? But who's willing to do it? Drug delivery for mucus. Ribik is now working with collaborators to specialize in drug delivery to find a solution. You see, this Ribik woman, she's working on this. She also has underway many studies that explore how glycans affect a variety of different microbes. We're moving through different pathogens, learning how to leverage this amazing set of natural regulatory molecules, she said. All right, you guys see this? I'm really excited about this new work because I think it has important implications for how we develop, look at this, for how we develop new antimicrobial therapies in the future. I mean, this could also be applied with nanotechnology. If we're talking about on the molecular scale, we're talking about items as small as molecules. We're talking about nanotechnology too. A lot of implications, a lot of opportunities. Who will cash in on them? You know what I'm saying? So now here it says Clarissa Noble, an associate professor of molecular and cell biology at the University of California, Merced, said, if we figure out how to therapeutically deliver or increase these protective mucin glycans into the human mucosal layer, we could potentially prevent and treat infections in humans by maintaining microorganisms in their commensal forms. All right. What does this mean for now? Much more work needs to be done until mucus can actually fight infections, but studies are promising. In the meantime, the next time you sneeze or have a cold, you may want to remember that your mucus is actually protecting you. Most of your body's natural functions are protecting you. Most times when your body does a natural function, it's protecting you. You know what I'm saying? So here's the results of that study. All right. Mucins are large gel-forming polymers inside the mucus barrier that inhibit the yeast to hyphal transition of Candida albicans, which again, that's thrush, a key virulence trait of this important human fungal pathogen. However, the molecular motifs in mucins that inhibit filamentation remain unclear despite their potential for therapeutic interventions. All right. So the molecular motifs in mucins that inhibit filamentation remain unclear despite their potential for therapeutic interventions. All right. What do you guys think about that? Opportunities. Here we determine that mucins display an abundance of virulence attenuating molecules in the form of mucinoglycans. We isolated and cataloged greater than 100 mucinoglycans from 3 major mucosal surfaces and established that they suppress filamentation and related phenotypes relevant to infection, including surface adhesion, biofilm formation, and cross-kingdom competition between Candida albicans and the bacterium Pseudomonas agariciosa. Using synthetic O-glycogens, we identified 3 structures: core 1, core plus 1 fructose, and core plus 2 galactose, all right, that are sufficient to inhibit filamentation with potency comparable to the complex O-glycan pool. Overall, this work identifies mucin O-glycans as host molecules with untapped therapeutic potential to manage fungal pathogens. All right. That's pretty impressive, huh? This is the reason why we need more of us in STEM. Yeah, I agree. But most people, I mean, how are we gonna get them to do it? You know what I mean? How do you get people interested in their own survival when they don't show any interest in it? You know what I mean? What are you supposed to do? You can't beg them. You know what I mean? It's just sad. So much opportunity out here. So guess what is not going away? Guess what keeps coming with more and more articles, more and more cases? Everybody's favorite at this point by force. Yeah, I agree. More monkeypox. Is anybody surprised? First case of monkeypox in Tampa Bay confirmed in Pinellas County. Uh-oh, Richard. Oh, snap, Richard. Dr. Oyi Ko, director of the DOH in Pinellas County, said that the case was reported on Thursday and that the person is now in home recovering. Okay. So let's find out about this. The Florida Department of Health has confirmed the first case of monkeypox in the Tampa Bay. All right. So, like I said, man, Pay attention to this pattern of spread when it comes to monkeypox. Uh-oh, Richard. Uh-oh, Richard is right. Uh-oh, Richard is right. You know what I'm saying? Monkeypox coming for you. According to the DOH, the case is in Pinellas County. Although the DOH, what area, the DOH, this must mean the DOH did not say what area of Pinellas County it occurred in. During a news conference on Friday, Dr. Oyi Ko, director of the DOH in Pinellas County, said that the case was reported on Thursday and that the person is at home recovering. All right. This brings the number of confirmed cases in Florida to 22, including Broward, Miami-Dade, Orange, Palm Beach, and Seminole counties. Okay. Nationwide, 173 cases have been confirmed. Recently, look at this, there has been an increase in human monkeypox infections in different parts of the world, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Okay. The DOH said that monkeypox is a rare disease caused by a virus that occurs mostly in Central and Western Africa, but can show up in other parts of the world. The monkeypox virus can be transmitted from animals to humans, especially African rodents and monkeys. Once a person becomes infected with the monkeypox virus, he or she can pass it to other people, although it is not considered a very contagious disease and the risk of contracting it is very low. Monkeypox typically begins with flu-like symptoms, fever, chills, headache, tiredness, muscle aches, and swelling of the lymph nodes. It progresses to a rash on the face and body. The illness usually lasts 2 to 4 weeks. Human-to-human transmission generally requires prolonged face-to-face contact with someone with an active rash or indirect contact with contaminated items of someone with a rash, such as clothing. It can be treated with a vaccine. Okay. It can be treated with a vaccine. Shouts out to Abby. What up with it, Abby? Val says we need to get the children's interest in science early. We need to make an effort to focus STEM starting in kindergarten and first grade. I totally agree. If you guys agree with what Val just said, give me a thumbs up in the comment section. If you disagree, give me a thumbs down. All right. Oh, look at this. Domestic battery charges filed against Pinellas Sheriff Deputy. Guess who's getting the video? Put this away for later. Put this away for later. We're going to do like Kanye. We're going to make you a superstar. You know what I'm saying? We're going to make you famous. Oh, that's what's good. Glad you liked the Bitcoin video, Abby. That's what's up. Yeah, the Bitcoin video that Abby is talking about is on my channel called Tales from the Cryptocurrency. So if everybody's not subscribed to Tales from the Cryptocurrency, check it out, because no more Tales from the Cryptocurrency on Blacklight Revelations. All of those are going on the Tales from the Cryptocurrency channel. Just like Crimecast, no more Crimecast on Blacklight Revelations. Crimecast is going on the Crimecast channel. All right. So we got an article here from New York Post. All right. This one is from June 25th of 2022. All right. June 25th of 2022. It's going down with monkeypox. Look at this. They got these crazy people up here in New York lined up outside some kind of, I don't know what kind of building this is. Temporary clinic for monkeypox vaccination. Monkeypox is spreading locally at large. LA County events, health officials say. So monkeypox is doing its thing. Let's listen. I'm going to ask you guys a really dumb question. All right. You guys ready? What do you think that all of those guys could possibly have in common? I'm just curious. What could they all have in common? The number of confirmed monkeypox cases in Los Angeles County has jumped to 22, which health officials said has been spread among men who have sex with other men who have recently attended large events. Okay. So MWHSWOM. That's the new acronym since we're not allowed to say LGBTQ. I didn't know that the don't say gay law was applied to the description of how you follow the epidemiology of monkeypox. I didn't know that. Are we just simply not doing this because it's Pride Month or what? Large events, aka 12-inch, aka $5 foot long. You know what I'm saying? Anytime Subway is offering discounts on $5 foot longs, make sure you got your mask on and make sure you're vaccinated before you walk in there. You know what I'm saying? $5 foot long. $5 foot long. Bow, bow, bow. All right, so now here it says most of the recent cases involve individuals who have not traveled outside of the county or the state, as was the situation in most of the first identified cases in the U.S. No hospitalizations or deaths have been reported yet, officials said. Now, here's my question. Do you guys think that there are some that have taken place and they're just not being reported or what? Let me know. Anyone can get and spread monkeypox. Now, see, and they always preface it with this. You guys notice this? This is what I want to. Oh shit! Damn. This is what I want to make sure that everybody is aware of. Every time we've talked about monkeypox, they all lives matter monkeypox. Anybody can get it. Anybody can get it. Yeah, but it's a certain group of people that just keep getting it though. Like, we allowed to talk about that? We allowed to talk about that or no? You know what I'm saying. Let me know if we're allowed to talk about that. So now here it says, but some of the recent cases identified have been among gay, bisexual, and other men who have men with men who attend large events where exposure to monkeypox may have been occurred. What do they mean large events? Carlton said they was talking about orgies. Is that what they talking about? They talking about orgies when they say large events? Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we got 11 likes. Shout out to everybody that's in here. If everybody smashes that like button, we'll have 21 likes. Let's try to get to 21 likes. Carlton says, how come the CDC won't tell these men what they can do to prevent getting monkeypox? That's a great question. Because I can think of some things that they can kind of chill out on to not get it. You know what I'm saying? Abby says, folks saying they got bed bugs over monkeypox. Do they still have though? What's that? Bed bugs? Oh yeah. Yeah, they most definitely still have bed bugs. But bed bugs are actual bugs. They're actual organisms, insects like animals. This is caused by a virus. So now let me see what else we got down here. Here it says the department said that it would be Jynneos vaccine. Wait a minute, hold on. Did I miss something here? Oh, okay. Monkeypox has appeared to spread among men who have sex with other men and have recently attended large gatherings. I don't. I think. Why do they keep throwing in and recently attended large gatherings? Is that like some kind of face saving technique? Well, this happened, but just also this happened. Like, no, there was this fluid swap somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Look at this. Nick Cannon sitting up here talking about he failed miserably at monogamy and relationships. We're going to talk about this too. I got a good live stream about some junk content like this coming up for y'all. You know what I'm saying? So that'll be fun. The department said it would be Jynneos vaccine targeting individuals at high risk of monkeypox. All right. Now, what individuals are at high risk of monkeypox? Which includes those who have had close contact with an infected person. I guess Netflix and chill. You know what I'm saying? And those who are at an event where they may have had skin-to-skin contact with an infected person. What kind of event do you have skin-to-skin contact with infected people at? I've never been to a skin-to-skin event. Has anybody else? A skin-to-skin event? What does that look like when you purchase tickets for it at the Ticketmaster? Has anybody ever purchased tickets for a skin-to-skin event? Where are the preferred seats at? On somebody's face? Oh, God. The department said that it would be working to make the hard-to-come-by vaccine available for other high-risk groups as supplies increase. Monkeypox is a viral infection that causes skin lesions and is endemic in certain parts of Africa. But the current outbreak has hit countries like the U.S. and the United Kingdom, where the virus does not usually spread, sparking global concern. All right, so you guys recall, if you haven't watched the last live stream that I did on this channel, we were talking about the question that's being asked of whether whether monkeypox is a global issue. And I'm curious, I want to know how you all feel about that. Do you all feel that monkeypox is a global issue? Do you all feel that this is something that we really need to be paying attention to, something that we really need to be concerned about? My man Carlton Way says politicians will use the monkeypox to scare black people into voting. You know why? Because you gotta scare black people to the poll. You can't leave it alone to their own brain to go vote or to not vote or whatever it is that you want to do. You have to scare black people into doing it. That's what they said. That's what that dude said. You know what I'm saying? A dude that looked like W. Kamal Dumbbell. He sat up there and said that stupid ass shit. So the virus can cause blisters, pimples, and rashes on the skin. Most who contract monkeypox report only mild illness that goes away within 2 to 4 weeks without treatment. Monkeypox can spread through contact of bodily fluids, monkeypox sores, or clothing with an infected person, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. It can also be contracted by breathing in respiratory droplets while speaking to someone. All right, so that's why it's important to not let people get all up in your face. You know what I'm saying? Don't let people get all up in your grill because you don't know how clean they are. You don't know what they rocking with out here. You don't know what they've been doing. You know what I'm saying? And you can mess around and get monkeypox. So don't get monkeypox. You know what I'm saying? So the next article that we have is an article from the Financial Post. All right. And this article from Financial Post is coming in by the way of Reuters. Because like I told you guys, when it comes to these white media companies, for the most part, all they do is copy and paste each other. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you guys have ever noticed that, but that's what they do. The next COVID booster shots will likely be updated for Omicron. What do you guys think about that? The next COVID booster shots will likely be updated for Omicron. Now, what I want y'all to just sit back and think about that. And the reason why I want y'all to think about that is because when we first started talking about C19, when we first started talking about things like Omicron, you know, they said that the vaccine as is fine. But now all of a sudden we're talking about these companies sitting up here talking about they're gonna update the virus, they're gonna update the vaccine. Why would you update it? What kind of sense did that make? According to everyone, according to most of the people who are alleged C19 authorities, not many changes are necessary. Just go ahead and pump yourself full of that shit and you'll be fine. Pump that shit and shut up. I don't know what you're complaining about. This article is from June 24th of 2022. Okay. So it's only 2 days ago. So this is a fairly new article. So this is a fairly new development. You said it right, Rob. They will update the virus. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. COVID-19 vaccines this fall. Look at this. COVID-19 vaccines this fall are likely to be based on the Omicron variant of the coronavirus rather than the original strain. Okay. Immediate question that everybody should be thinking of, or immediate question that everybody should be asking is, well, what strain is the vaccine that Pfizer and BioNTech have been producing? What strain is that based on? I don't think anybody even asked that question. Is that even indicated? Does anybody know? Where do you see which strain the vaccine that you're taking is based on? Where's that information located? How does anybody know? And my question for everybody is, should everybody know? That's the question. Okay. Although some experts suggest they may only offer significant benefits for older immunocompromised people. Now, this is what these experts said. I didn't say this. COVID-19 vaccines this fall are likely based on the Omicron variant of the coronavirus rather than the original strain, although some experts suggest they may only offer significant benefits to older and immunocompromised people. Do you guys remember when they were taking content off the internet for saying things like that? That used to be what was considered a fringe thought. That used to be what they considered fringe. Talking like that. Oh, don't you talk like that. Don't you talk like that now. So now here it says Moderna, Pfizer, Novavax. They've been testing vaccines based on the first BA1 Omicron variant that became dominant last winter, okay? Driving massive surges in infections. On Wednesday, Moderna said it updated its vaccine. On Wednesday, Moderna said its updated vaccine worked well against more recent Omicron subvariants and that it was moving forward with plans to ask regulators for approval. Now, here's my question. If they update this vaccine, do you need to get more boosters since this isn't the vaccine that you got in the first place? That's my question. What do you guys think? Are you going to have to start a whole new series or no? That's what I want to know. If you've been vaccinated, if you've been boosted, now that they've updated this thing, are you going to have to get an updated new set of vaccines? Or are you able to continue with what you've been getting? So now here it says vaccines that can bridge the gap between the original versions of coronavirus and the Omicron variant would likely be far, far better for the fall, according to Trevor Bedford. A biologist at the University of Washington who has closely tracked the mutations of SARS-CoV-2 virus. Bedford said it would take too long to meet regulatory requirements for a switch to tailor the next vaccine to versions of Omicron spreading quickly now. That's interesting. Now, he says that it would take too long, right? It would take too long to meet regulatory requirements. I don't understand how it would take too long when they could probably get an emergency off. Shouts out to my man Keldrick. What up with it, bro? They could probably get an emergency off. So how would it take long? You know what I'm saying? Catching up to any of the Omicrons is really important, he said, noting the enormous jump in the number of mutations from the original strain that emerged in China to Omicron on the spike protein part of the virus the vaccine's target. The World Health Organization plans to assess the effectiveness of vaccines built for Omicron, as do national health regulators like the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. A group of WHO advisors said last week an Omicron-based vaccine may broaden immunity after the Omicron variant evaded much of the protection against infection generated by the vaccines designed for the original virus, a view other experts share. FDA scientific advisors will meet on June 28th to make a recommendation on the issue. Important questions remain, including whether vaccines designed for variants circulating last winter will work well against significantly different subvariants that may emerge. My thing is if they're thinking that the vaccine being updated is going to improve the use of it, then clearly there's some issues. Clearly there's some issues. You know what I'm saying? Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we got 12 people watching. Shouts out to all 12 people who are watching. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. And we got 13 likes. If everybody can smash that like button, let's get to 25 likes. You know what I'm saying? Let's get it. We can get there. Let's do it. So now here it says experts also want to know if the new shots will increase protection against severe disease and death for younger, healthier people, or merely offer a few months additional safeguard against mild infection. Right? Scientists who have questioned the value of booster shots for young and healthy people say a broad campaign is not needed with an updated shot either. All right. So now this is important. Pay very close attention to this because this is where it all goes down at. We talking about the money, honey. Ain't nothing funny about no money, honey. Billions of dollars at stake. Unlike annual adjustments for influenza vaccines that manufacturers are allowed to try to align with circulating strains, regulators have asked companies run clinical trials to prove their new C19 vaccines work better. You would think that these companies would have no issues with doing tests. You know what I'm saying? To make sure that these things work. But nearly 3 years into the pandemic, vaccine makers are pushing for a flu-like model that would allow them to nimbly retool their shots to combat new variants. At stake are billions of dollars in contracts with countries around the world. Moderna is already manufacturing the shots with deals signed in some countries. So you see, this is look at this. This is mass production. This is mass production, and they already are in production of these without really, getting any permission. So, I mean, it's going to go down. They're going to use these. Moderna is asking regulators to greenlight a version of their COVID-19 shot targeting both the BA1 Omicron variant and the original version of the virus, armed with fresh evidence it may be effective against more recently circulating subvariants. The challenge we have is the virus continues to evolve really quickly, Moderna President Stephen Hodge said in an interview, noting that millions of doses of the updated vaccine would be ready in August. If the drug maker needs to tweak the vaccine further and restart manufacturing, new shots may not be available until the middle of the fourth quarter, he said. Pfizer and BioNTech are testing variant adapted COVID-19 vaccines, but have yet to release any data. Novavax, whose vaccine is not yet authorized for U.S. use, launched a trial of its own Omicron-based vaccines in late May. Dr. Jesse Goodman, a professor at Georgetown School of Medicine and a former top FDA scientist, said, unlike for flu regulators, do not have enough experience with COVID vaccines to match them to circulating strains without clinical trials. Dr. Lucina Borio, former acting chief scientist of the FDA, said the science generally supports the idea that it would be better to have vaccines that more closely match the circulating virus currently. I mean, that's just common sense. If the virus has evolved and mutated massive amounts of times, and there's more of a prevalence of one particular strain circulating, yeah, that's probably the one that you want to have the virus, the vaccine most closely matched with. I mean, that's just common sense. Would you guys agree with that? I mean, that's common sense, right? If I have a fairly new strain causing a lot of problems, then we probably want to deal with that strain that's currently infecting the most people, right? I mean, that's common sense. I just want to make sure I'm not tripping here. We see that with people that have hybrid immunity from vaccines plus infection, Borio said. The immune response that is generated is very rich. So, I mean, all right. If the immune response that's generated is so good, what are we doing here as far as this goes? I mean, we should probably, if the immune response that's generated is so good, we should probably be drawing titers to see how immune somebody is before we decide to start doing things like, this. Wouldn't you think? If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up in the comments. If you disagree, give me a thumbs down. Still, Borio and others are not convinced. Look at this. Still, Borio and others are not convinced everyone should be vaccinated again. So this is Borio. There's no evidence that a healthy 27-year-old person needs to be revaccinated, Borio said. So now it's getting to the point where people are starting to question, why do we need to take all of these damn vaccinations? And I mean, I don't think that that's a bad question to ask. You know what I'm saying? I think people should be asking that question. I think people should always be asking questions. I don't think the way that they handled C19, was effective at all. They shut down people asking questions. You know what I'm saying? They shut down people making content about the vaccine. They tried to shut down people who didn't agree with things that the CDC and the WHO said. And in my opinion, if there's differences of opinion, or if there's differences of school of thought, as long as what people are saying is not unsafe, as long as what people are saying is based in research and it's not leading people to harm each other or cause harm to other people, I don't understand what's wrong with letting people have their untapped freedom of speech. In my opinion, we let people have freedom of speech for things that are a lot more harmful than a C19 debate. What do you guys think? If you guys agree with what I'm saying, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree with what I'm saying, give me a thumbs down. Okay. So now, how many people have heard about the reinfections, the breakthrough infections? If you guys have heard about these breakthrough infections, give me a thumbs up in the comment section. If you have not heard about the breakthrough infections, give me a thumbs down. I'm sure everybody heard of these breakthrough infections. Here's the question for you guys. What is a breakthrough infection? If you guys know what a breakthrough infection is, I need everybody to type it in the comment section before we go on. What is the definition of a breakthrough infection? Help your boy out. We're gonna just act like your boy is lost completely. What is a breakthrough infection? What's significant about a breakthrough infection? Who gets them? Who knows? Anybody got those answers for me? If you don't have the answer, go ahead and put an angry face in the comment section. But I think it's at least one, at the very least, there's one person in here who knows the answers. So let's see. Anybody know the answer? I got a whole playlist, and if I'm not mistaken, I think that playlist is called Breakthrough Infections. So what is a breakthrough infection? Who knows what a breakthrough infection is? Help your boy out. Help me. Help me now. What is a breakthrough infection? Help me. Help me, please. You guys remember that? Help me, please. What is a breakthrough infection? I know you guys know. Don't be scared. Getting COVID twice. Someone that is reinfected with the virus after taking the jab. Facts. If you guys agree with Carlton, give me a thumbs up. That's the key part. The key part is after getting the jab. Okay? That's the key part. What to know about COVID-19 reinfections? Health officials are concerned about early reinfections within 90 days of a prior infection. All right? Health officials are worried that reinfections of COVID-19 could become more common, especially within a few weeks or months of a prior infection. Now, let's do a little bit of critical thought here. Why is it that reinfections of COVID-19 could become more common? Why would that happen? That's something to take into consideration. Some studies suggest that Omicron is changing in a way that previous infections aren't as protective against in future infections. Scientists are also concerned about long COVID symptoms in people who get reinfected or get ill even when vaccinated. Okay. In recent weeks, health experts have been particularly interested in looking at reinfection rates of the SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus, especially in the context of new Omicron variants compared to previous variants. Reinfections have been reported occasionally earlier in the pandemic. Health officials are concerned that they may become more common with new variants and that early reinfections, where the second infection is within 90 days from the first, may occur more frequently. Now, as you guys see, according to this headline right here, it says that reinfections have been more common. Now, here's my question. How many of you know somebody that has had COVID once and then they got it a second time? I know a couple people like that, people that have had COVID multiple times. There's definitely people out there that have had COVID multiple times. Do you guys know any people like that? If you guys know anybody like that, give me a thumbs up. If you don't know anybody like that, give me a thumbs down. You know what I'm saying? Do you guys know anybody like that? Let me know. Let your boy know. Uh-oh, Abby said she had it twice. Carlton said back to back. C19 infections like Jordan championships. Damn. Carla says reinfections after having the vaccine and then being boosted once or twice. Yeah. Oh, wow. Shouts out to Hey, Mr. Knickerbocker. My cousin granddaughter has had it 3 times, Alpha, Beta, and Omicron. They ready for the fraternity. Can they do the steps, though, is the question. They able to step? All they need to get is the ski wheat, and they have it all. You know what I'm saying? They have all of it. Once people start getting that ski wheat variant, it's a wrap. You're gonna be ready for the whole fraternity. You know what I'm saying? That's the one that Kamala Harris had. I don't know if anybody knew, but she messed around and ended up getting that Alpha Kappa Alpha one. She got the Alpha Kappa Alpha variant. So now here it says data from previous waves suggests that recovering from a prior infection protected against infection during the Alpha and Delta waves. What does this actually mean? Previous infections and vaccinations both help prepare the immune system for a future attack by the same or similar virus. The body will have antibodies to fight back more quickly, and that can help prevent severe illness and any symptoms from developing at all. If a future reinfection does not lead to symptoms, it is not likely to be detected and counted as a reinfection. Okay. There are signs now that reinfections could become more common with new variants. In a recent morbidity and mortality report from the CDC, the agency details 10 people who had reinfections during the Omicron wave that happened within 90 days after a previous infection during the Delta wave. Researchers sequenced the whole genomes of the virus collected from individuals, verifying that they were infected by different variants each time. All right. So now what I'd like to know is, what were the vaccination statuses of these of these people in the experimental group? And I want to ask you guys that question. What do you guys think the vaccination status was of these people in the experimental groups? The patients had a median age of 11 at first infection, and the number of days between infections ranged from 23 to 87. 8 of these patients were under the age of 18. One was a long-term care facility resident. One was a healthcare worker. 7 of them were unvaccinated, while one was fully vaccinated but not yet eligible for a booster. I mean, okay, so what booster were they on? Like, they got so much shit going on. So now here it says CDC officials emphasize in the report that these 10 early reinfection cases are not representative of the U.S. population and should not be taken out of context. This is why this might be happening. These early reinfections could be a result of differences between the variants. Several Omicron strains have mutations at a specific part of the genetic code for the spike protein, which is the part that helps the virus enter our cells in our body. Now, you guys remember the very first version of COVID that happened, right? The very first version, it directly attacked lung tissue. All subsequent versions of COVID attacked the upper respiratory tract, but not specifically the lungs. You guys remember that? There is some evidence that the mutations are big enough changes to make immunity from previous infections less helpful for preventing reinfection. Tulio de Oliveira of Stellenbosch University and collaborators are finding in South Africa that later versions of Omicron, BA4 and BA5, can break through the immunity from previous infection of the original Omicron BA1. This happened less often when people had hybrid immunity, a combination of natural infection and vaccination. In a study published earlier this week in Science, another team of researchers goes into detail about this phenomenon and different combinations of previous immunity and Omicron immunity. The team found that having a previous Omicron infection didn't protect very well against a future Omicron infection. When Omicron started flying around the country, people kept saying that's okay, that will improve people's immunity, says one study author, Rosemary Byton of Imperial College London, to The Guardian. What we're saying is it's not a good booster of immunity. So now this is a long-term concern. Okay. Reinfections are a health concern, even if they're not being detected consistently, and if rates of severe disease and hospitalization remain effectively low. All right. So my thing is there's been quite a few reinfections when it comes to COVID-19. Like, this isn't something that is not something that we don't hear about all the time. This happens quite frequently. Would you guys agree? If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up in the comment section. We hear about this happening all the time. We hear about this happening all the time. Health scientists are worried about the possibility of more people developing long COVID, which may be defined as symptoms that persist for weeks or months after an infection has been cleared. Some symptoms include fatigue, brain fog, and lung tissue damage. There is a lack of consistent and collated data on how many people are currently suffering from long COVID after an infection, and scientists are still learning about the range of health effects and symptoms. A recent study published in Nature magazine focused on long COVID from infections in vaccinated people, which the researchers call breakthrough infections. They found that a portion of people who had breakthrough infections had at least one symptom 6 months later. Okay. Scientists are learning more about Omicron and its variations as time goes on, and at least one researcher thinks that it is different enough to be considered its own virus, not a subset of SARS-CoV-2. Lin Wang of Duke in U.S. Medical School in Singapore says to Science it should be called SARS-3. So we're going to have to check this out. But for most of us, we'll have to wait and see what develops regarding Omicron and any other new variants to better understand what it means for us in our daily lives. So now what I find interesting about this is that this really didn't give us too much information about reinfections. It didn't give us too much info that we need. What do you guys think? I don't think that gave a lot of good info at all. So, ladies and gentlemen, players and pimps, I think that is it for tonight's C19 report. I think I might do another one tomorrow because I have some other things that I want to talk about, but they're kind of unrelated. So I want to leave them off of here and put them into their own live stream or put them each into their own video. All right. So if you guys are not subscribed to this channel, y'all know what to do. Make sure y'all hit that bell icon twice. Smash the like button. All right. Also, please share the video out to all your other social media. All right. And I will catch you all on the next video. All right. Peace.